Hi, this is Sarit Switzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shner Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast. This is episode 189 for the 29th of Iyar in a leap year. So we all know, or hopefully we all know, the very important rule not to look directly at the sun, right? Many of us wear sunglasses even when we're just walking down the street and the sun's rays are too strong. And so we all know that looking directly at the sun can be very, very dangerous. And I think that this is interesting in the sense that Chassidus, as we'll see, tends to use the analogy of the sun a lot in terms of our relationship with God. So what we're going to be learning about today is we're going to be continuing along the lines of what we've been learning so far in the past few episodes, and especially the one yesterday, about the idea of the Shechina, about the source of all of the vitality here in this world. And we've already made a parallel to this, to the Shechina with the sun yesterday, and so you can go back and listen to that if you haven't already, where we talked about how just like the Shechina is the origin of all the vitality in the world, the sun is the origin of all the light in the world. And we've talked about how any sunlight that we see is merely just a very small radiance in comparison to the light of the sun itself. Like it's totally incomparable. When we just see like a ray of sunlight, it's like nothing in comparison to the sun itself. And similarly too, any vitality that we experience here is merely just a ray of the true source, the true essence of the vitality, the source of vitality. And so what we'll learn about today is that not only can we not look directly at the sun, which is something we all know, but also something else that, if you think about it, is that any sunlight ray, any ray of sunlight, if you were to shine it back into the sun itself, it would cease to exist. So the only way that we can actually experience sunlight, experience the light that comes from the sun, is when there's vessels, when there's things, we call them levushim, like clothing that this sunlight can vest itself in, that can contain itself within. And so we'll say that see that similarly too when it comes to the Shechina, which we said is the source of all the life in the world. We can't experience the Shechina directly because that would be too much for us. It would be too powerful. It would be too overwhelming, and we'd actually lose our independent existence, God forbid. So in order for the Shechina to be experienced by us, it too needs to be clothed in vessels. It needs to be clothed in these vestments. So let's get into the text and see how the Alter Rebbe explains this. One side note before we get there is that I wanted to point out that I think it's interesting also that the sun is often used as such an apt analogy for all of this, because the sun also is responsible, even though it's not the source of our lives, it really is responsible for so much of our life on earth in terms of plant growth, in terms of our growth, in terms of our life, our temperature. So many things really go back to the sun. So I think it's interesting that we have this live living metaphor that we can use here in our world that can help us kind of give a sense of God, of our relationship with God. So here we go. So we are in the middle of chapter 52 of Likkutei Amarim. And so the Alter Rebbe, again, he's been talking about the Shechina. He's been talking about this. We talked at the queen yesterday. We talked about the Shechina as being like the mother of all the children. We talked about it as being the Knesset Yisrael, like the origin of all the souls of the Jewish people. So this Shechina, which is the beginning of the revelation and the mainstay of the revelation, this is where God, this is like this origin of where God reveals himself to all of the worlds in a way of revelation. And it's the source of all of the influx of vitality that's found in all of the worlds. And then the Alter Rebbe says in brackets that all of the vitality that we experience, that these different worlds experience, is just like a very small light that draws out of it. Like, just like the ray that radiates out of the sun. That just like when you have a ray that comes out of the sun, it's very small, it's very minute compared to the sun itself. Similarly, too, is the vitality that we experience here in this world is just like a small ray of like the actual vitality, the source of the vitality, where it's coming from. And so the world cannot handle to receive this light of the Shechina so that it will dwell and vest itself within them without a garment, without a levush, it's called in Hebrew, that hides and conceals its light so that they will not become nullified in their source completely, like the way that the light of the sun becomes nullified in its source in the sun. Where like if it were possible to look inside the sun, you wouldn't see that individual ray of sun. You wouldn't see, like, if we went back into the sun itself, it's not like you're going to see like a whole bunch of different rays of sunlight that shine down into the world. All you're going to see is the body of the sun itself. So that's it for today. So just to recap that. So basically the Alter Rebbe is teaching us here about how while the Shechina is the source of all the radiance, of all the vitality here in this world, we can't experience that Shechina directly, by virtue of the fact that it is the source. Just like we can't experience the sun directly, just like we can't even look at the sun directly. We need to wear sunglasses when we even go outside and the rays of the sun are too great. And if we were to theoretically be able to go into the body of the sun, we wouldn't, the rays of sunlight, the individual rays would cease to exist. So similarly to our vitality here in this world, it's only possible for us to experience this vitality in an individualistic way by virtue of the fact that this vitality is enclosed in many garments. So we're going to continue along these lines tomorrow and get a little bit deeper into it, and I will speak to you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shechina. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.